Hey everybody, I got a question on how to assemble the Titan Monolift, so if you'll pardon me, I'm not going to get any photos of my head. I'm just out of bed, I got bed head and everything, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how I put this thing together. I can't guarantee that this is how the manufacturer wants this thing put together. Okay, I'm just going to tell you what I learned by putting together two different sets of these things and see if maybe this will be helpful for you. So let me go ahead and get this thing all taken apart. Okay, the size of this first, the larger set of bolts and nuts is 15/16, so pretty big stuff, 15/16. And it comes with a large bolt and 4 washers. So here we've got the red thing, and we've got this guy. Okay, now, further complicating things, when you get this, you'll get a set of bolts that look like this, the smaller bolt that I'm holding. I'll get some closer views of this in a little bit, but there's a smaller bolt, and if you look at the size of it, it's got a little, I'm blocking the light. Okay, here's a smaller bolt, and if you look at the size of it, it's got a little plastic sleeve and then 2 washers. Okay, I'll talk about what I think this is for. I don't use it for this. So this one is different size than the big bolt. It is, I think, 3/4. Yeah, 3/4 inches. So let me go ahead and get this thing taken apart. 3/4. Maybe I finger tightened it. There we go. Alright, so when it comes, this is all you get. You get double this amount of stuff because there's 2 monoliths. But this is it, and I don't really remember that there were any directions. So what do you do when you put this thing together? Alright, the first question is, for me, you'll notice on this red monolift, there is 3 sets of holes. 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 holes on this thing. What are they used for? When I first put it together, what I did was I lined this up so that this topmost hole goes in this big hole on the bracket. So I lined it up like this. It works fine if you do it that way, but you'll notice that in my review of the monoliths, what it did was it made it very hard to move around, because this thing would just swing freely no matter what when you're trying to move it around. And I mean, it's not really dangerous, but it's really sort of an annoyance. So the next time I put them together, I wondered what would happen if I slid it up so that this second hole would be lined up with this. And if you do that, then if you turn it, this topmost hole kind of lines up with the topmost hole on the red thing. Okay, I'll get some closer views of this in a little bit. So here's what I did. I took the big bolt, the big bolt here, and then inserted it into here. But first I put on a washer. Alright, so now I did this, then kind of put it in a little bit, and then put a little washer between the bracket and the red thing. Not super easy to do, not the hardest thing in the world. You kind of have to line it up. There we go. I didn't quite line it up. Need a smaller finger. Alright, and then when I got it almost through, I put another bolt on the other side of the red thing, or another washer rather, on the other side of the red thing. And then once I got it all through, then I put a washer on the other side of the black bracket. So let me see if I got this. There we go. And then another washer on the other side of the black bracket. Now, this is how I did it. Just traditionally, you don't put a nut on without having a washer after the nut. But the other way you could do this, because this doesn't really move per se, there's not really any forces being exerted on this, and this is a lock nut, so it will lock itself in place. The other way you could do it, honestly, is you could put all 4 of the washers inside the bracket. So instead of having a washer here on the outside and a washer here on the outside, what you do is go in and then put 2 washers, and then the red thing, and then 2 washers, so that all the washers are on the inside. That makes sense from the standpoint of managing friction. Okay, I didn't do it that way. I don't really see the need to, but you could do it that way. All right, so what is this? The smaller bolt. What I think is supposed to happen here is you're supposed to put the smaller bolt in and then put this rubber thing, the black rubber thing, put it on the inside and then put another washer on the outside. Why would you do this? I think what they're trying to do is to create a stopper. Create a stopper, something that prevents this thing from traveling very far. I don't like that. I want this thing to travel a little further. Gravity will put it right below this bolt, so you'll see that instead of being here, it should go all the way to here. So it moves like another inch if you don't have this stopper in here. But I think that's what they intended this thing for. Now, let me remove it. And I'll show you what I do with this top bolt. So now, because again, we put the large bolt through the second hole on the red thing, when I want to move this thing, this lines up enough with the top here. Again, I'm not entirely sure they meant for it to be like this, but it lines up so that now it's immobilized. It doesn't move around, okay? So let me go ahead and get in a little closer on all this stuff. Alright, so there's the Monolift. Okay, right now I've got this little bolt immobilizing it here at the top. I'll take that out. Okay, for the placement of these washers, it's bolt, washer here, washer inside between red thing and the bracket, washer between the red thing and the bracket here, then washer here, and then the bolt, okay? And obviously you tighten it down. Now, when you tighten it down, be careful. It doesn't have to be super tight. This isn't like working on your car engine. Don't tighten it so much that you see that this bracket starts to squeeze. It doesn't need to be tight. You don't need to apply any torque to it, okay? So, again, if you want to use the top hole here as a stopper, in case you couldn't see very well, what I did there was I went the bolt and a washer, put it through a little bit, and then I don't know if I can do this with one hand, but see the little black thing that came with it? I put it in here and then put the bolt through the black thing. I think you can get the idea. I just probably can't do this with one hand. Wait, maybe I can. There we go. Yeah, so it goes through. All right, so here, if you want to use it as a stopper, it's got the black plastic thing right here. I don't know if any of this is correct. As you are aware, if you buy things from Titan, they tend to come without any directions. I think this is right. I know that it works. The only thing that I could see that would be a variation that you might want to consider is if you want just a tiny, and I mean a tiny bit more travel on this red arm, and I mean it would be very tiny, then instead of putting the bolt through the middle hole on the red piece, if you put it in the top hole, technically you're going to get a very fraction of an inch more travel. The thing is then you can't immobilize the thing by inserting anything in the top because it's it won't have a hole there. See, there's the hole. So when you line it up, you got to move it. I just put one of these bolts in there. Probably not what Titan intended. But just throw that bolt in there, and now this whole thing can be moved as one unit, and the red lever thing here doesn't move around. So hope that helps. I got a question how to put these things together, and it can be frustrating because there probably should be a little bit more information.
I assume no responsibility for what happens if you put it together this way. This is just what has worked for me. It may not be exactly what Titan had in mind, but it works. My monoliths work fine. They're sitting up there right now, and there's nothing mechanically from putting it together in this fashion that should cause any sort of trouble.